Yeah, hey, welcome to the stream, everybody. I hope everything is well. So, if you're watching this replay, I will put a marker in the first comment pinned to the top where I actually start my little discussion about these computers, specifically the M1 Pro and the M1 Max as it relates to software development. I decided to do this video because people were asking me about it, so I figured, I'll just do a quick video. So we'll do the video, then we'll do some Q&A afterwards. So if you don't know, Apple released this new groundbreaking chip technology. Well, it's based on the chip, the M1 chips, which are cool running chips, super fast, super performant, and the rest of the industry is scrambling to catch up to them. So which one should you get? There's three variants. The classic M1, well, it's a year old, 6 months old. M1 Pro, M1 Max. In terms of, if you're a developer, which one should you get? So before I get into it, if I were, my suggestions for 99% of developers, I wouldn't get any of the Pros, Mac Pro, the new M1 Mac Pros, because they're very expensive, you know, but you're getting a lot of value there. I'm going to comment on that. What I would get is what I got, the Air. The Air is my favorite form factor. Look how thin that is. The battery lasts forever because it's the M1. Instant on, fingerprint, no touch bar at the top. It's super fast. So I would get the Air personally because for most developers, this would be more than enough for many, many, many years to come. And it's actually, in US dollars, it's by far cheapest. The base model is $999 versus the base model supercharged M1 Pro is $2,000. So that's my suggestion for you. I'll get to the comments very soon. So let me just cover this. So let me go to the site. Here we go. So this is the it's the U.S. site. So you got the old 13-inch model. This is Intel based. So I wouldn't go Intel at this point in time. I would stick to the new these things here, the Pros with the new M1 technology. But you know what I would do? Instead of going with the Pros, I would go with the Air here. The Air is an amazing laptop. I have one. Love it. Best laptop I've ever had. And it's far more affordable. So this is US dollars. This is my suggestion for developers. I would get 512 gigabyte storage. Let me just configure this. So I'm going to configure this one here. See, the M1 chips are so fast now that in terms of software development, again, for 99%, the M1 will be super fast. But would be kind of cool if you have the money to upgrade the memory to 16 gig. That will be very helpful, also help with the longevity of the laptop. This comes in if you're going to be getting into virtual machines and so on. And just for convenience sake, I would spend the extra $200 to get the 1 terabyte. And that's it. I think if you, that's what I got 16 1 terabyte. So it's not cheap, but this computer will be good for years and years and years and years and years. Now, here's the thing that non-Mac users may not be familiar with, and that is that these things have a very high resale value. It's really easy, and I emphasize that, it's really easy to sell old MacBooks. They're just premium devices, and they retain their value unlike the Windows world. Now, I have Windows, I have a Surface Pro, Windows machine. I've been using Windows. I use Windows for many, many years exclusively. I have Mac, Windows, I do iOS, I've done Android, even Linux. So it's not like I'm this Mac person. I just prefer Mac OS for a bunch of reasons, but you can write great code on any platform. It doesn't matter anymore. They're all very good. I just happen to like it. So what I suggest, though, whatever computer you do get, no matter whether it's Mac, Windows, Linux, get SSD based. And try to get good 16 gig of RAM. 2 comments about that. So number one, with the M1 architecture, the RAM utilization is far more efficient. You can get much further ahead, much further with 8 gig of RAM on an M1 chip than you would on an Intel-based system, Windows or Mac. So think about that. But again, if you can afford it, I would get to 16 gig just to maximize your potential. That being said, I think for most people out there, 8 gig would be more than enough. So as I said, I have the Mac Air because I just like the super thin form factor. And that's it. It's fantastic. Good device. So there you go. The pros, if you're doing some really heavy machine learning stuff, maybe AI stuff, the Pro would come in handy, I would imagine. If you're doing lots and lots of virtual machines, perhaps that might come in handy. And of course, outside of programming, if you're doing some heavy-duty 8K editing, I don't know if it can handle 8K, but I wouldn't be surprised that the M1 Pros and Macs might be able to handle 8K. This computer here, the wimpiest of the M1 machines, it can handle 4K video like this, no problem. So there you have it. That's my take. So I got through that. So we'll do a little Q&A. And we'll take it from there. So let's do some Q&A. Let me start off at the top again with the comments. Hey, how are you guys? Hello, Anissa. Hope everything is good. I love hearing your thoughts on coding and just general. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining the stream. Good evening. Hey, Kevin, how are you? I have a question. You have 85% of your Android work developed in Java. Would you recommend switching to Kotlin? Oh. I'm not an Android developer, so I don't have any knowledge in terms of the technical side, but I can say this. Google has said use Kotlin. It could be some for political reasons because they have some ongoing litigation, or they did anyway with Oracle. And number two, Kotlin is just a swifter language, and my choice of words there is explicit. It's a swifter language than Java in terms of overall development. It's a lighter, nimbler language. And you can access Java's API pretty seamlessly from what I understand with Kotlin. So why did I say swifter? Because Objective-C was the original heavy-duty language used for iOS development and macOS development, and Apple came up with Swift to speed up things and make it easier. So Kotlin is kind of Android's answer to Swift, even though JetBrains created it, not Google. Never owned an Apple laptop, will be my first one. Yeah, I think, again, when you're looking at the price, you have to understand that there's a high resale value with the Mac laptops. So yeah, you're paying more, but I'll give you an example. I brought my 2016 Mac Pro, 2016 to Apple, just when I bought this, 6 months ago, whatever it was. And they gave me about 30% of my purchase price. This is like a 5-year-old machine, 5 years old. Apple gave me 30%. Now, if I would have went to them, just like put it online and sold it, I could probably have gotten 50%, maybe a bit more. So when you're buying an Apple laptop, unless you take care of it, you don't scratch it, take care of my things, you're going to get at least 30% of your money back from Apple, all things being equal. Now, I've done this many times, about 4 or 5 times. When I started buying Apple computers when they went Intel, it's the first time I bought Apple, and I would sell them every 2 years or so, and I would get back a big chunk of my money. Sometimes, if they were just 2 or 3 years old, I could get back 65, 70% of my money. So think of it as like buying Eames furniture, which is super high-end furniture. Eames furniture actually goes up in value. So if you're going to buy furniture, buy the classic Eames pieces. They'll go up in value. Like I have some Eames chairs here that I bought like 10, 12 years ago, maybe longer, and they've literally tripled in value since I bought it. Tripled. One of the best investments I made. And I could easily sell it for double what I paid. Easily, because it's a third off for everybody else. So yeah, Apple computers retain their value. They have a high resale value. So you got to factor that in when you're pricing them. How to know which programming language, let me try that again. How to know which programming skill can help to make money. They all can, because once you've learned the fundamentals of code, you will be able to pivot from language A to B to C. That being said, the web stack gives you the most opportunity. There's a wide array of choices, but whether you go web stack, mobile development, IoT development, game development, web stack, they all can make you money. But web stack, it just gives you a wide range of possibilities in terms of jobs. A lot of flexibility there. Also in the types of company. So just jump in. I suggest check a look below. I got links to my my full stack course, my Python courses. That will get you going. If you're a book person, I haven't talked about my book in a while. Here's my book for beginners on web design. Start here with Stef. So it's an older book, but you know what? I wrote this book to be evergreen. Everything I teach in here is still 100% applicable to today. That's if you're a total beginner, and if you're an beginner, intermediate level coder, and you want to level up your game, you want to get this book or the JavaScript equivalent. Refactoring is a process of cleaning up code. There's a particular process. Again, links are below. You'll get that. It's highly recommend you pick up those books if you want to. If you want to pick it up. Master of Mash. What's better about it? What's better about what? Was not supposed to speak about Pro or Max. Why error? Was not supposed to speak about Pro. Well, as I said, Pro and Max are great. They're far more powerful. I think they're significantly more expensive. All I'm saying is that you can, with the Air, probably the Air will handle 99% of developers' needs pretty easily. And I think it's a smaller form factor as well. But the Pro Max are great, but I think they'd be this huge, powerful machines that you won't need unless you're doing some very specialized AI coding, machine learning, maybe tons of virtual machines. How to not learn useless stuff which is not needed in market and can't make money. Just look at the top 10 languages out there. You can find any list, top 10 most popular languages, usual cast of characters: C, JavaScript, Python, PHP, C#, Java, and a few others. Again, just watch my videos. I talk about it. Look at the market. Look at Indeed.com. Look at the job opportunities. Anyway, if you learn any of the top 10, you'll be in a good position. It's not possible to learn a wrong language, by the way, because what you're going to learn when you start getting into programming, it's kind of like learning to drive a car. Once you learn to drive manual a Porsche, you can drive manual any car: Audi, Porsche, BMW, Honda, Toyota. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Same thing with programming. The basic concepts and constructs and techniques of programming are consistent across all the popular languages. Does the M1 work well with other tools like Android Studio? That you would have to do some research. Just say M1 Android Studio. See what the Google pulls up. I've been wanting a MacBook for so long. Right now I am forced to use MSI that likes to shut down its own due to being 0% battery. Though I normally have 30% battery when it does this, laugh out loud. Yeah. Stability and smooth workflow matters. I find, one of the reasons I use Mac much more often than Windows these days is because I was just getting tired of all the needing to reboot and restart my Windows to update it. It was driving me bananas. Apple, you get it once every 6 months, once a year maybe. Windows is like every freaking 2 days. I'm waiting for the M1X Max Minis. That'll be the best bang for the buck. Probably. 16 gig, 522 is not too far away from the M1 Pro base model, which is much better. I believe this is a better deal. Well, take a look. Just price it out for yourself. See what you think. I have 512 gig, 8 gig RAM, Air One as computer science student. I love it so far for coding, etc. Yeah, there you go. As I said, for 99% of development, I think the 8 gig would be enough. I think that 512 is a good amount. 256 kind of light in terms of storage. I kind of like the 512 personally. Which color do you recommend? Oh, that's a personal choice. That's aesthetics, you know. I go with, I think I got the gray one. Kind of like the gray one. I don't know if you can see it or not. Hey, how are you? Hope everything is good. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. 8 gig of RAM version is enough for iOS program. Yeah, there you go. There you go. One of the reasons the M1 machines are so fast is because you aren't as many burning CPU cycles going out to main memory because the memory is right there next to the CPU. Oh, there you go. Howdy. Do you think 256 is enough for pro? It's enough, you know. It's enough because when you program, you're just writing text files, right? I just like having that little extra breathing space personally, but you know what? I do a lot of video work, so but if it's just text, 256 would do it too. There you go. Yeah, that's no good. Yeah, up the likes. Wait, I'm late. Can anyone sum up Stefan's thoughts on the MacBook Pro? I will sum it up. I think they're great. I think they're higher resale value. So you can't look at the price, but you see right away people compare it to Windows machines, which have very bad resale value, last time I checked. But MacBooks, very high resale value. I was just saying I sold an older machine, like 5 years old. I got 30% of what I paid from Apple. I could have got 50 from the public. So yeah, I think it's good. It's a good choice overall. Which MacBook is the best for AI machine learning is the best and how much memory is needed? I don't have the exact stats, but if I was going into AI machine learning, I would take a look at the Pro variants because I think they got a lot beefier processing there for VAT. But that's a very rare type of programming. A lot of people do it, but for every AI machine learning developers, you know, thousands of web developers, you know. How important is learning APIs for web development? Well, once you got your basics of web development, then you just learn how to interact with an API. And then once you've done it once, then you're ready to go. Learning APIs or using APIs is something I would consider need to nerd tech. You use it and learn it when you need to use it. Hey Trey, how are you, man? Uncle Stef just finished chapter 5 functions and loops with your Python course. I'm going to start chapter 6 with treasure hunt game. Hey. Cool, congratulations. Keep up the good work, dude. If you're a developer or enthusiast, you need a more powerful computer, just like a car enthusiast needs more cars. Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah. If you're a developer, you want to do real work, get a desktop instead with dual or triple screens. Well, you can power, I think with this Air, I could power dual screens. And with the Pros, I think you can power triple screens, super high resolution. They're super performant. There you go. Kevin knows the rules. Do you think boot camps are worth taking nowadays? Only good boot camps. You should check out my boot camp. Maybe I'm biased, but I think my boot camp, my mentoring program, is the best bang for buck you're going to get out there. Check it out below. And if you have questions about it, you can book a session. Ask questions. Sorry if it has been asked before. What's your experience contributing to OS projects on GitHub? Have you done it? No, I have not contributed to OS projects on GitHub or GitLab. That's post my time. By the time that started happening a lot, I was in management already. What do you think of, I don't know. Boot camp is for people that want to be hand-holded. The problem you will face is when you are done, who is going to hold your hand? That's a good question. Boot camp is for people who want hand-holded. The problem you will face is when you are done, who is going to hold your hand? Well, that's it. I set up my mentoring program because people wanted that extra support. So the good thing about my mentoring program, it's lifelong access. So you get in, you learn your coding, you learn how to manage projects, you build your site, you build projects. We're there to support you. We have bi-weekly live coaching sessions and the option to get private mentoring as well. And we're also there to help you land jobs, deal with clients, deal with prospective bosses. interpersonal skills. We cover all that. I decided to put that into the mentoring program because I saw a lot of people needed it. So that's your answer. All right, Carson says, I know many developer tools are still not fixed for Apple Silicon. Scene Builder is still a mess. Working on legacy Java code is painful, etc. Yeah, well, you have to. It's it's a per case basis, but because these computers are so powerful, because they're having record sales now of their MacBooks, as far as I understand, everybody's going to cater to them. You can be sure about that. Why do people update their devices so often? Don't you then bump into environment setup? Well, it depends how you set it up. You can have with Mac, for example, you go to the store and they'll just clone your old machine to the new, and it's just like click, 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 and they do it for you, and then you're ready to go. Number one, yeah, it's a decision, personal decision, when you're going to need to upgrade. I say if you're making money with your hardware, I say you should update maybe every 2 to 3 years. Unless you start seeing some slowing down, then you want to update more quickly. That's just me. If you're making money with your machine, if you're still learning at school, then you don't need to. And in fact, I say that, and I kept my old MacBook Pro for 5 years, and it was fine, you know. I just wanted the M1 chip, and I wanted the slimmer form factor, and I wanted to get rid of that touch bar at the time. So, are platform-based services become the future software tools? Platform-based services. If I know what you mean, I think it will be a factor, a growing factor. I would agree with that. That is also true. There's not a problem. There you go. I appreciate that. He's a fellow Canadian, fellow Canuck. Hello, Stefan. What is a good percentage of money down for a mortgage? As much as possible, generally speaking. I would say minimum 20%. If I were you, I don't know where you are in the world, so there's different laws, but you want to avoid any penalties. I would put down minimum 20%, 25%, and then you'd be in a good position, perhaps. See, that's a big debate in terms of mortgages. Like, mortgage rates are so cheap now. If you're in the U.S., you can lock in for 30 years for super cheap. It's kind of like you're better off, like, financially, to put as little down and just ride that cheap interest rate, lock that in the U.S., and then put that money in an ETF or something where you're going to make much greater percentages, right? So if you're paying, I don't know what you're paying in the States, 3 or 4%, but if you put it in the market on an average, you're going to make 6-7%. So you instead of putting that extra 50 grand into the mortgage, put it in the market, you're making double the percentage. You see where I'm going with that? But there's another factor, psychological. It feels good when you own the asset outright or you own most of it. So for a psychological point of view, it might be good to just pay off the house as much as possible so you have that house paid off. So it's kind of like, it's done, right? So you have to think about both ends. Mr. Fox. I'm a beginner front-end dev, still learning a certain amount of things in JavaScript. How do I know I'm ready to get the job as a front-end dev? Well, when you feel comfortable building some basic front-end things, you know, maybe implement React, maybe implement Vue, you know, see how that goes. New MacBook Air is coming up. It's best to wait a few months and more in order to get the faster CPU. Oh, so there you go. That might be the case. As I said, with my old crappy, 6-8 month-old Mac Air, this thing is like, it's super fast. Like bing, 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 and it's got amazing battery life. Quite pleased with it, actually. This is also true. Don't get me wrong. Any computer that you buy today, Mac, Windows, Linux, they're all good for development. They're all good for development, you know? So, can't really go wrong. But again, because the M1 Max and Pros came out recently, I figured I'd comment on them for people because I got a few people asking that question. So, Should I build my own Windows desktop or get the Mac desktop? Depends what your goals are, you know. Because I'm busy and I work, I have like an iMac right here. It's just easy. Boom, boom, I can get to work. I don't want to fiddle around with piecing together hardware and motherboards and stuff. But if you could save $500 and it means something to you and you like doing that kind of stuff, then do it, you know. All right. Appreciate the thumbs up, guys. It helps with the algorithms. So, yeah. How would you go about having to save files in a database and having to deliver them through an API? How would you go about having to save files in a database? Well, I wouldn't save the files, Scotty, in a database. What I would do is saving files in a relational database, I'm assuming you're talking about a relational database, otherwise known as an SQL database. You can save files right in the database tables themselves. Blob data, it's called blob data. But I would suggest what you do is you save files to a directory in the operating system, and then you create a reference, a text reference, a URL reference to those files in your database. It will speed things up quite a bit. That is traditionally how I would do it, and that's how I've always done it. Perhaps some of the newer databases are more optimized for blob data, for saving files inside of the tables themselves, but I would do it that way. So I would store the files in the file system, make reference to them in the database, and then you'll be able to provide URLs through an API, just passing strings around. You're just, let me say that again, you're just passing strings along, if that makes any sense. Let me know if that makes sense below in a comment. I'm a Windows developer, almost exclusively using C++ Builder for native development. I don't do Java, C#. I don't do Python, but maybe I did it once. I start ML and AI. All right, that's cool. So you say Razer laptop retained their value a lot. Okay, so cool. That's good. Stef, do you use React? I have not used React. We used Vue.js on Studioweb. If so, do you have a preference between class and function-based components? I don't have a preference because I don't use it, so I couldn't comment on that. Do you recommend beginner WordPress devs charge hourly or by project? Well, this is what's going to happen when you go into freelance. They're going to always ask you what your per hour rate is, but then they're going to want a fixed price on the budget. It's very rare that a client, especially new clients, and when you're new to the game, they're very rare, if ever, they're going to allow you to do open-ended contracts like that. Unless you're working there, then that way you're not a freelancer, you're a contractor. So yeah, you should do my freelance course. Links below will teach you all about that, how to price yourself, how to bid on contracts, the whole 9 yards, how to charge, etc., etc. And it teaches you how to increase your per hour rate very, very quickly and very easily. CLA, you could get an iMac, but for the money, you could get a better custom-built PC. Faster CPU is overrated since modern CPU are already so fast. And if you want is more RAM, TB space, and multi-scan. All right. I own an 8 gig 512 SSD Mac Mini. It's a beast. Oh yeah. If you got, that's another interesting thing about Apple computers. They have really fast SSDs. Like if you look at all the rate, they use like blazing fast SSDs. Retina display is good since we spend too much time in front of the screen. Yeah, that's one thing. Yes, true. After RAM and SSDs, invest in a good monitor if you can, whether it be external monitor on the laptop, good monitor so it doesn't tire your eyes out. 100% big data is correct on that one. 14 or 16 inch. You know, I used to get 16 inch, but now I would get the smaller one simply because if I want to travel, the 14 is a lot easier to move around. That's one of the reasons I got the Air. And if you need that extra screen real estate, just buy yourself an external monitor if you can afford it. More RAM, the better. Apple is offering 6% cash back when using Apple Card to buy a MacBook now. Oh, there you go. That's pretty significant. Here's an answer. 16. Yes, I agree. However, a lot older code and classes. Okay. I own a 8 gig 512 SSD 6-core Mac Mini. It's a beast. I also sold my 2012 MacBook for 400 Canadian. So there you go, 2012. There's high resale value. Do you see a good future for Flutter? Well, as you know, maybe you don't know. When Flutter came out in beta, I said Flutter looked like a good tech, and I thought it was worth doing. And so far, so good. I think it's a niche technology. But again, it's one of the illusions I try to dispel on the interwebs is that you're going to choose a bad tech or you're going to choose a bad language that's going to strand you in the middle of nowhere. If, for example, you become a Flutter master and you're coding in Flutter, and I think it's Dart, right? And all of a sudden, for some reason, Flutter fades or you can't find Flutter jobs. For you to pivot to some other similar stack or just web stuff will be pretty easy for you. So who cares? You're fine. If you like Flutter, go with it. I got an Intel Mac Pro 15-inch 4 years ago and used it to develop iOS, and maybe it's because my projects are still small, but build times are still quick for me, less than 10 seconds. Well, there you go. Like I said, I kept my old Pro for like 5 years, and I only sold it for, I mentioned why. But yeah, they have a long lifespan. Computers are getting so powerful these days, especially with the SSD-based computers and RAM. It's like the need to upgrade is diminishing. It's diminishing over time. What do you think? What do you think? Take project management role or stay as a developer? Really consider the type of work that you're doing. Project management is a whole different game than being a developer. With project management is all about interpersonal skills, dealing with people, some architectural, of course. So think about that. You're going to be doing a lot more dealing with people and putting out fires as an architect, as a project manager. Depends what you like, you know. Maxed out M1 Pro 64, engineering and design perspective, rendering, video edit, 3D modeling, and likewise, versus 380, 390. Thanks. I don't know what the 3080 and the 3090 is, but if you're going to be doing 3D modeling, then you want to get as much power as you can get, so you can start pushing around those polygons, right? I used to do 3D Studio Max back in the day. I actually did some 3D work back in the 90s that was using TV commercials. By today's standards, very primitive stuff. But anyway, questions. What kind of projects for a JavaScript HTML as a beginner, and what front-end dev do in most freelancing jobs, if you have any idea? Thanks. All right. You want to build simple website, responsive sites for small business. If you're freelancing, you're going to be doing a lot of WordPress, a lot of Shopify, maybe some Stripe, PayPal integrations, you know. So anyway, I have plenty of videos where I talk about all these things. Just check my YouTube catalog. You'll find tons of stuff on how to get into freelance, what you got to do. The Surface Pro 8 looks much more interesting than a typical laptop. Most high-end laptops are more capable than I need it to be by a lot. This is true. New computers are so powerful. So, for example, if you're lusting after a new computer, whether it be the Mac M1 or the Pros or whatever, or some latest Windows machine, but you can't afford it, and you got a 5-year-old machine, you're fine. You're fine. For 99.9% of coding, you're more than fine. You don't need to buy an ultra-powerful machine. Like, you can have a super old machine. You're going to be able to write tons of code, make tons of money, so don't worry about it, you know? If you were doing 3D modeling or advanced AI, where you had to process the AI models, and yeah, okay, but you know, yeah. Everyone hit the like button. Thank you, Anissa the Queen. Yes, we got 120. Yeah, please give me a like if you like the stream. Hi, Steph. I did your full stack in Python. Cool. Appreciate that. I hope you got good use out of it. Any advice on where to market my digital skills? I'm thinking of making videos for my LinkedIn. Thank you. Yeah, we'll put up that demo website. Again, look in my YouTube catalog. You'll find videos where I talk about what you need to do to get that job, the 7 steps to getting a job. Go watch those videos. You know, I got nearly, I don't know how many I have public, but I have nearly 2,000 videos on this YouTube channel, and not one video of me like pushing cats into bathtubs or making coffee or skateboarding. It's all information based. So yeah. LinkedIn is cool, by the way. Yeah. Stefan, what about eye strain? Would you suggest glasses or other equipment for visual optimization and staying focused? As somebody pointed out in a previous comment, invest in a good screen. Very good screen, high refresh rates. That is going to help you with eye strain in a big way. Java or not Java? That's the question. If you're going to do Java, it's because you want to work for very large organizations. I've written more code in Java than any other language, but personally, for small, medium-sized businesses, I would not be writing anything new in Java, personally. Not that it's a bad language, but it's so verbose and time-consuming to build anything in Java compared to lighter, nimbler solutions. Low code, no code. Is this a threat for us developers, or should we be afraid? We should not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Low code and no code are just tools that you can leverage as developers. Remember, your job as a developer is to develop product, and you're already using a lot of no-code tools. Like when you're leveraging an API by just making an API call, you're not really coding that. It's minimal. It's just like, use Google Maps, boom, boom, boom. That's fine. That's fine. A big part of your job as a developer is to design and architect the system and put things together, knowing when to use this particular no-code solution, when to write code. Again, one of my rules, don't look for code to write. Don't look for code to write, and see if there's other people's code that you can leverage. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Yeah, thanks. I agree. Appreciate you guys hitting the like button. It's good for the algos. Hello, I want to develop a slightly complex app for a project, and I'm confused about which programming language to use to develop a good Android app. Should I use Flutter, Kotlin, React? I always suggest when you're looking at mobile app development, see if you can use a cross-platform solution first. First, you see if you can do it in a responsive site, which then you look at PWA. Then I would look at React Native, maybe a Flutter, or whatever other cross-platform solution there is. If you cannot get this done with a cross-platform solution, it's Android apps, okay, yeah. But I would still look at cross-platform solution, because let's say you develop an app that's successful and you've done it in, I don't know, Flutter or Kotlin, some cross-platform solution, not Kotlin, but React. Then you could just put it to iOS, right away without extra work. That is my suggestion to you. Well, let me scroll down and get that super chat here. Dan. Depends on what you're developing. If you're developing .NET, then yeah, use Windows. Otherwise, Mac OS, okay. It's all about preference. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I would agree with that. Again, yes, if you plan on not getting an external monitor, and it's I don't know how much more it is for the extra couple inches, it makes a big difference, those 2 inches. But I was going to make a joke there, but I won't. But again, for travel and so on, having that 16-inch could be a pain in the butt. I will. Hold on, where we got? Let me scroll down. Just getting some more questions here. How are we doing for time? 39 minutes. Oof. Okay, we're gonna be wrapping this up. I appreciate the likes, guys. Is it worth buying a Max 32 64, 1 terabyte long-term? it's going to be good for years and years and years. That's for sure. Do you need it? Check out the benchmarks, you know. But if it's a little bit more and you can afford it, yeah, you know. Again, I would always err on the side of more RAM and more hard disk. That's the most important thing these days, because as somebody pointed out in a previous comment, CPUs are so bloody fast these days. I'm currently taking data structures and algorithms in C++, but I'm having trouble converting the knowledge to a language. Any advice? Just keep writing more code. As you write more code, the theories will become easier for you, and maybe jump into a C-based language to do the comparison. So maybe pick up JavaScript or something and start working with your algorithms, your algos, and your data structures there. What's going on? Here we go. About a year back, I bought a gaming laptop, MSI GF75, and the whole damn chase is warped and literally crumbled within 6 months. Whoa. I'm never buying MSI again. Probably stick with metal laptops too. All right. Hey, Steph, I'm here to get a sip of your coffee. There you go. Yeah, that's probably true. Steph, will you be updating your full stack course with Flexbox and Grid and other elements? Yes, I am, in fact. 100%. I actually already outlined my CSS3 course. It's going to be called CSS3 Pro. The foundation course, nothing I teach in there is out of date. I'm just going to add some new stuff like Flexbox and a few other things. When are you updating? Very soon. I've been talking about it for a few months now. I just got to get down to editing out everything. Thanks so far. I'm doing well. Starting your JavaScript tomorrow. Very cool. By the way, when I release my pro variants of the courses, if you feel you want them, you'll be able to get them for free. So if you buy my courses today, you get them all for free. The updates. I wish I could stay for a stream longer. I have to good night. You too, Scotty. Well, I'm finishing up my stream now anyway, so don't worry. Stefan, I've been on many dev interviews, but later this week, for the first time, I'll be asked to do a technical assignment. What can I expect? And is there any way to prepare? It depends on the company. So what I would do is I would be figuring out what the company is using, what they're doing internally in terms of the technologies. And if they're doing React, then bone up on your React. If they're doing Vue, bone up on their Vue. If they're doing C#, bone up on that. Yeah. You see that, you know, people are always worried about dev interviews and technical challenges. As this person said, this is the first time out of many interviews that they're actually getting a technical assignment. It's not that prevalent, perhaps. Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for joining the stream. I got my bokeh game is back on point again. There we go. All right, I think that's it. I think I got everybody. I know there's a few more questions, but I've been on almost over 40 minutes. Hey, Satara, how are you? Hope everything is good. Yeah. All right, so I'll leave you with this. I'm going to start doing little lives a little bit more often. I don't know how many times a week. Just to get the numbers back up again. Thanks for joining the stream. And we'll see you soon. Let's say, you're late.